I could not be more proud than I am today. The New York Mankeys have made it to the playoffs in Season 1 of the UCL. And honestly, guys, that is a feat in it of itself. No matter what happens on the field today, we are in the top 4 teams for Season 1, and that is just fantastic. I want to take a moment to thank all the players that have been behind us this season. Sakura, who will be transferring over to the GBA, by the way. Lonely the Infernape, Rufus, Toph. There was just been so many of you guys. Even if you didn't see play, Girder, you were on the bench cheering everyone on. You're great. I might draft you again, who knows? But seriously, this has been one heck of a ride, and today we go up against the St. Louis Rampardos, our own Goliath. And no matter what happens, I'm happy. I cannot be happier. Winning will feel great, losing will feel pretty familiar. So let's go out there, give it our all, make smart plays, leave our hearts on the field, but most of all, let's have fun, Mankeys. Let's do it! What's going on, Shady people? Shady Penguin here, and that's right, we're here with a post-commentary because my computer messed up again for the 3rd week in a row. Now, what I don't understand is from the last UCL match until right now, I have recorded about 15 to 20 videos and had no problems, but as soon as we record the UCL, we have issues. So yes, I've contacted my computer's the company that built my computer. I am going to get the sound card that I'm using right now. I'm getting it taken out because I really think it's the source of issues. I really do. So we're gonna get that taken out, and I'm gonna go back to what I had before, and that's gonna be fine and dandy. And this won't happen anymore, prayfully, hopefully. But for now, I do have to have a post commentary of this game, and that's unfortunate because it's the last one. It's the last one of the UCL. As far as like we did last week is the last one. This is, well, I should say this is the last. This is the hype game. This is the hype game. And unfortunately, we have a post com. Granted, the original battle is an hour long, and if you want to see the original battle, you probably go watch my opponent. But we're gonna have a sped up version of it because I do not have the time to post commentate this hour-long battle. I just don't. So we're gonna be running it at double speed. And what we're gonna do really quick is we are going to go over our opponent's team. Let me just get the video to where it needs to be. Okay, awesome. So we're gonna go jump to team preview, but in case you guys don't know who my 6 are, I am bringing Mew, Landorus, Infernape, Jolteon, Milotic, and Blissey. That's 6 right there. Yeah, I can count. That's 6. That's our 6. So we're gonna jump in right now and see what Dan is bringing. He has the Vaporeon, Crobat, Tangrowth, Mega Metagross, Conkeldurr, and Raikou. So definitely didn't expect that Tangrowth to come through, but boy, does it prove to be fun with Regenerator. This was a crazy, interesting match. There's gonna be a point where my commentary just stops because it was an hour long, so you can imagine there was some sort of just, I don't want to call it stalling, but let's see. I have a gosh darn Blissey and Milotic, and I will admit I took full advantage of their reliable recovery. However, it wasn't just blatant stalling. It was me trying to position myself, as you guys will see, into a good position to start knocking out some Pokemon. So you guys are going to see that. This is 6. Right away, even in the commentary, even in the team builder, like I said, I suspect Crobat or Raikou to be Choice Scarfed. One of those two is Choice Scarfed. They have to be because he had a problem with my Infernape and they both outspeed Infernape, so I figure, hey, he's gonna run Choice Scarf. One of those, knowing that I have Choice Scarf Infernape. So I lead off with Toph, you guys can see, as my opponent leads off with Oxygen. So not the best lead for us, but we can just go for a U-turn and not have to worry about it. There's no reason not to go for a U-turn. Let's go for a U-turn and switch out probably into the Blissey. That was what I would wanted to do. I just had this battle and I'm already forgetting. Isn't that fun? So I go for the U-turn, does a good amount of damage, like 15, 20%, like 15%. And we're gonna go right out into Blissey because Vaporeon can't touch Blissey. Vaporeon cannot touch my Blissey with anything. I mean, Scald, Ice Beam, Toxic, I have Natural Cure, so I'll switch back out. So I am taking a little bit of time here to think, trying to weigh my odds between Blissey, maybe even going on into Mew. Even though I'm not especially defensive, I think I can take on a Vaporeon very nicely, start firing some knockoffs off. But I do go out into Blissey as Dan does go for the Baton Pass. So that's an incredible feature of Vaporeon for sure, is that it has Baton Pass. It can be slow, get some slow switch per initiative. So of course, Dan's gonna go out into Hercules here, and we don't really feel like staying in because gosh darn it, a Drain Punch is gonna bring us down to like 20%. So we are gonna switch out and go on into Sakura, who can also take a knockoff, which is what Dan actually goes for. So he's gonna fire off a knockoff our way, which is, you know, it is what it is. It's not the best thing in the world. It's not the worst thing in the world. Knockoff is going to do a decent amount and get rid of our leftovers, but that's a lot better than Blissey getting knocked off because that would have done like 40% to a Blissey and gotten rid of my leftovers, and I didn't want that. And I couldn't risk the Drain Punch. So we went into my Milotic. I really don't want to go for Scalds because I don't want to burn this thing and give him his Guts boost. because that would be terrifying, and then he would be able to go 1v1. He'd be able to one-shot Chansey every single time, and I wouldn't want that. So I'm pretty sure here I'm actually just gonna go for a recover. I'm just gonna recover up because I want to see if he's invested in speed at all. Obviously he's not. I mean, even if he was invested, he'd have to have, I don't think he'd ever outspeed my low tick unless he was jolly. So I just wanted to recover to see what he would do. He goes for another knockoff. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm just going to stay in this time, and I am going to go for, I believe I go for an Ice Beam here. I might even go for a Dragon Tail. We're going to find out in just a second. I'm sorry that I can't remember, even though I just had this match. I went to go edit and boom! No commentary, like I said. But my opponent does go for the Drain Punch, which does an okay amount, and we do connect with the Dragon Tail. Now, we crit, doesn't matter. I kind of wish that we had our rocks up, obviously, but we didn't have that opportunity yet. So here Tangrowth comes in, and I'm like, all right, I gotta go out into Blissey now so I can get my rocks up. There's a chance that Dan will double predict me and double out into the Conkeldurr, but if that happens, it is what it is. There's nothing I can do. So I'm really considering going out into Blissey here, and that's exactly what I end up doing because I figure, oh, you're just gonna have Giga Drain or something. But actually, Tangrowth packs knockoff as well. So there goes both of my leftovers on both of my fat walls. But we do get the opportunity to set up our rocks. Now, the important thing to remember is that the only Pokemon Dan has that could potentially get rid of rocks is Crobat, his Defogger. But we're gonna see him switch right back into Hercules here, which makes perfect sense. Get our Stealth Rocks back up, and the mind games begin. Because now, Knockoff's not going to do as much because we don't have an item, but Drain Punch is going to completely destroy us. So I have to decide, am I going to stay in and risk a knockoff just to get a Seismic Toss off? I don't want to Thunder Wave this thing because Conkeldurr is gosh darn guts, and I don't want to give him that extra attack boost like I stated before about going for Scald. So what I ended up deciding is that I need to switch out. I can't let Blissey stay in here and risk a Drain Punch because that would be detrimental. Blissey completely walls the Raikou, completely walls the Tangrowth for the most part. So I'm really loving my Blissey. It stinks that he didn't bring the Hydreigon because that's what Blissey was really for, but it is what it is. So I go into the Sakura here because I can take anything I need to take. He goes for a Drain Punch and it does a huge amount of damage. Actually ends up being where if it was mid, if that was a regular roll, he goes for Drain Punch again, I would get knocked out. But fortunately, Conkeldurr is a slow clown. So we can get a recover off here, completely free, doesn't matter. There's nothing he can do to knock me out. Of course, unless he went for Mach Punch and got a crit. And wouldn't you know it, he goes for Mach Punch, but he doesn't get a crit. So we're gonna go ahead and get our recover off, which is fantastic. So a little bit of stalling here. But like I said, it wasn't to stall. I now have Stealth Rocks up, and my Dragon Tails are going to matter because we can start getting, if we can get the Crobat in just a couple times, we will have no fears. So he goes for another knockoff, which, like I said, is totally fine. I'm gonna go ahead and I think I'm gonna recover up one more time as he Drain Punches me because I actually just go straight away for the Dragon Tail. Left on 79, which is not good. And we Dragon Tail him into Sabertooth. So here I was trying to decide, what is he gonna do? Is he gonna try to take my Milotic out right now? I don't think he would. What's the best Pokemon to switch into right now? Well, Blissey completely walls this thing for days. 100% walls him for days. So we could go out into Blissey, even if he has Aura Sphere, it's not gonna do anything. It does like 35%. So I'm just thinking away. I'm really not sure. I know that Sakura's switching out. That's for darn certain. There's no chance of me staying in here, risking a Thunderbolt or a Volt Switch. He's pretty free to Volt Switch, so I kind of want to stop that. So I'm debating on if I should go out into Jolteon or Toph because one of those two can stop the gosh darn Volt Switch. But he actually doubles out into Sticks. As I switch out and go out into Mayhem. So not really the best thing for me. I'm scared of Sleep Powder this entire time, and I really only want Blissey to have to take a Sleep Powder because I have Natural Cure. So here, I'm just gonna go for a Volt Switch. That's an immediate response. Just let's Volt Switch away. We'll get an okay, nothing crazy, but we'll get an okay amount of damage off, and we'll get to see what he wants to go for, whether it be Giga Drain or what have you. We can go back out into Blissey, and we can start Seismic Tossing. So the beginning of this match is a lot of, let me try to Seismic Toss as much as possible with Blissey now that I have rocks up, and then I can start roaring and Dragon Tailing once the team gets a little more worn down. So we Volt Switch, like I said, and we're gonna opt to go out into Blissey, because like I said, I don't wanna risk Sleep Powder on anything else, and I can take a hit the best. So you guys see, he does go for the Giga Drain, goes for the Giga Drain, and it does absolutely nothing. So we're here to fire off a Seismic Toss or predict the Hercules, but you guys saw how fast that timer went away. I made my move immediately. I went for the Seismic Toss, predicting the Hercules to come in because I need to chip that thing away. Now, I could have just gone out into something and predict that switch. I possibly could have gone into Infernape, but Infernape wouldn't drop Hercules from that range. So we're gonna see a Seismic Toss here, and it does a good amount of damage. And of course, Hercules can just go for a Drain Punch, and I am, right now, this is the This is the crazy turn, I think, because I'm trying to decide, is he going to Drain Punch? Can I get into my Mew safely and transform and take all of his moves and see his entire moveset? Or can I go on into Landers, intimidate him, and take a Drain Punch no problem and force him out because an EQ is going to hurt like a Banshee? So I'm debating on which one I'm going to switch out into. All I know is that Blissey is not staying in. There's no chance of Blissey staying in. But what am I going to switch out into? We only have 35 seconds left on the clock. You guys can see this battle it's crazy watching a battle in double speed. It's nuts. I do apologize. If I had the post commentary, if I had the regular battle video saved, I would have just done a regular post commentary for sure. But unfortunately, I don't. So I have to just work off the visuals that I have, which hopefully is not too rough for you guys. So America's going to switch out. I'm going to go ahead and switch out into Toph, hoping that he doesn't go for Ice Punch and he goes for the Drain Punch. So we made a beautiful prediction there. It was risky, but perfect. It paid off so much because now we have initiative. EQ is going to do about like 60% to this Conkeldurr depending on its spread. And I decide, hey man, I better just go for a U-turn because he's not going to stay in here. He could go into his Tangrowth to take an EQ, at which that would be kind of rough if we went for EQ, but if we go for U-turn, we're gonna get super effective damage off. But he actually stays in as I just go for a U-turn. And I was like, well, you know what? It doesn't matter. Let's go right out into my low tick, 'cause I know my low tick, you're not going for a Drain Punch, and you might go for an Ice Punch, but he actually goes for the knockoff, which Sakura already had her item knocked off, so I'm free to recover. Now look at Hercules, a little bit above 50%, and he's gonna Drain Punch me right here, I'm sure. So he goes for another Drain Punch, and at this point, we're just trading HP back and forth. I'm stealing HP from the air and he's stealing it from me. So I'm gonna recover again, try to get back up to full. I'm just shy and he goes for another Drain Punch. So his Conkeldurr's getting pretty fed right now and I don't like it. So I'm like, you know what? Let's, then I start thinking, oh, we can just waste all of his Drain Punches. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. Let's waste his Drain Punches. But he's gonna withdraw Hercules and predict my recover, but I actually go for the Ice Beam, predicting the Tangrowth. So it worked out perfect, but it did not do as much as I wanted to. So I was like, oh boy, that's Assault Vest. Don't got to worry about Sleep Powder or Leech Seed anymore because he's 100% Assault Vest after seeing that damage. Hold on one second. Okay, so that turn, I had enough time to answer a message on Skype, ladies and gentlemen. That's how exciting this game is. So we're both in here. I'm trying to decide. He's going to withdraw Sticks, actually, and goes out into Hercules, predicting me to go on into Blissey, but I actually stayed in and just Dragon-tailed. I did predict him. I figured, I didn't predict him to switch out of the Hercules, but I figured even if he went for Giga Drain, it really wouldn't do too much damage. I mean, I'm a calm nature, so we'd be able to see how much he wants to do. And it is what it is. So I go for the Dragon Tail. It switches back in the Tangrowth, of course. I haven't had any luck with some good switchings. We switched in the Raikou with the Dragon Tail and we switched into Tangrowth. So, but it is what it is. That's what happens when you go for those types of moves. It's random. And we're gonna see the Giga Drain here. I'm gonna be able to scout how much it does. And it does more than half with a crit. So I was like, shoot, man, that's a crit. I'm gonna recover again because I can definitely I can win this war. I can win this war if I want to. So we know that he's not packing Sleep Powder anymore. We don't got to worry about that. But I'm still, it goes for the Ancient Power. Now I'm scared. So I'm like, oh boy, he's going to try to get boosts. This is not going to be good. So I go for an Ice Beam just to get some damage off on this thing because I think he's going to keep going Ancient Power. But he actually goes Giga Drain, made a really solid prediction there, predicting me to want to get damage. And he's going to force another recover so that he can go for Ancient Power. So you guys are gonna see here, I'm gonna go for the recover. I clicked it already. He goes for the Ancient Power, I believe. Look at that, that's just a crazy move. And he gets the boost. So I'm kind of scared here, but I'm like, all right, I got Dragon Tail. He outspeeds me now, no matter what. So if he had fired off a Giga Drain, it would have done a lot. It would have done a lot. Actually, I guess it would have done around 50% again, over 50%. So that would have been bad. But he goes for another Ancient Power, which is fine because I did click Dragon Tail, knowing that at any cost I had to get rid of this Tangrowth. So I switch him out and I switch in the Vaporeon, which is not a terrible thing. We can see that we're getting some nice residual damage, but of course this thing is left over, so it's not gonna count for too much. But against a Vaporeon, I'm free to do a variety of things. I'm free to take a Scald. He's gonna go for a Scald. No burn as I go for another Dragon Tail. Really trying to get a good Pokemon out here, but we're gonna get Sticks in again! So we just, Sticks and Dragons just like go together like peanut butter and jelly. I don't know, man, it was nuts. It was really nuts how many times I switched in this Tangrowth. So, to be fair, the strategy that I came up with the Dragon Tail and the Roar, it definitely aided for the beginning of the game to be kind of lengthy, but it was all to try to break down his team. Bringing the Tangrowth was perfect for Dan because it has Regenerator and it doesn't matter what you do to it. It's going to switch out and it's going to go ahead and recover its HP. So that was really unfortunate for us. At this point, I'm tired of it because this Dragon Tails are not working. I go out into America knowing that he can't even put me to sleep or Leech Seed me, and that's fantastic. So I go for they go out into Blissey and he is going to get drained. Now, I'm predicting the Conkeldurr to come in, so I'm just going to fire off another Seismic Toss. Now, I could have made a switch. That might have been better, but you guys can see I was hoping that 2 Seismic Tosses would be enough because Blissey actually outspeeds Conkeldurr. Of course, I started thinking, what if he invested enough speed to outspeed me? But that was way too close. I did not know if he would go down there. I was not sure if he had 50 or less HP. For all I know, he had 51. It was such a close measurement. I really wasn't sure. So I can't stay in here because I cannot risk a Drain Punch. So what I'm going to do this turn is I'm going to end up convincing myself that there's no chance of him not going for a Drain Punch, and it's time for me to go out into my Mew. It's time for me to go into my Mew. Granted, I could have gone out into my Landorus, gotten the Intimidate off, taking the Drain Punch just as well, but I convinced myself, nope, just kidding. I go out into Sakura, and he goes for the knockoff. I didn't want to risk going out into Landorus because I went into last time and he could go for the Ice Punch, and I was hoping he'd go for the Ice Punch, but this is a win-win no matter what. Here, though, I know he's going to go for a Drain Punch, but I live on 6, and I have to Dragon Tail right away. I decided that it's no more recover because I can't let I'm working all towards that Conkeldurr going down. That's all I wanted the entire time. And Metagross comes in, can't get the Crobat, and at this point, I'm like, you know what? It's time to let this thing go down. Sakura needs to drop, so I'm just going to go for a Scald. Maybe I can burn this Z-Drive, and that would be fantastic. But you guys are going to see here kind of a crazy, crazy turn because I very easily could have recovered up and then had a Marvel Scale Sakura because wouldn't you know it, this Mega Metagross is gonna throw up all over the place and toxic my Sakura. I did not expect that at all. I just thought he'd take me out. So kind of a drag, but I did go for a Scald, but I didn't get a burn. So we're gonna go down to the Toxic. I could have recovered and had a really nice physically defensive Pokemon there. But that's not what happened. So at this point, I pretty much have a lot of initiative. I can go out into my Landers here, intimidate the Mega Metagross, and fire off an EQ or fire off a U-turn to kind of keep that momentum in my favor. Because if the Tangrowth comes in, it's going to eat up an EQ if that's what I go for. So I have to kind of weigh the odds. What do I want to go into, and what am I going to do once I go into that Pokemon? I'm trying to decide between Infernape and Landorus. I end up going Landorus because the Vaporeon's still around and it's pretty healthy. If the Vaporeon had been at less health, and I automatically clicked U-turn, you guys saw, I basically made the both decisions in one turn. So he ends up switching out with his Metagross and I go for a U-turn, which is perfect because Tangrowth comes in and it's gonna take a huge amount of damage. Look at that. That's a 2-hit KO. That's a 2-hit KO after rocks. So I know now, oh, well, you know what? Let's go into Infernape because I can U-turn again. There's no chance of him staying in. Here, I could have gone for the close combat, expecting the Vaporeon, but I didn't want to go for close combat and then have Crobat come in. Because remember, I'm already suspecting Crobat to be Scarfed, either Raikou or Crobat. We haven't even seen Raikou go for a move because when it was switched in via Dragon Tail, it just hard switched out, which was an incredible play by Dan, making sure that he wouldn't reveal his item or anything like that. No knowledge was gained from that gosh darn Raikou. So he's gonna actually go into his Oxygen, and a 2 close combats would have taken him out, if not just one, but I do go for a U-turn here and bring him down to about 40%. So I'm like, you know what? There's no reason not to go into Mayhem. This is my Volt turn action right now. We had U-turn into Volt Switch. This is beautiful. So I'm gonna click Volt Switch immediately. There's no reason to do anything else, but Dan's gonna reveal the Protect on his Vaporeon, which is such a drag because he is lefties and he can definitely do that. So I'm already suspecting Wish. We've seen Scald, Protect, and we've seen Baton Pass. So we've seen 4 moves. We've seen all of Vaporeon's moves. We're gonna go for the Volt Switch here as Styx does come in. That kind of stinks because I mean, I was already locked into it. There's nothing I could do, but I can once again just go right out into Infernape and click U-turn. Actually, I end up checking who does more damage, Infernape or Landorus with their U-turn. And it turns out Landorus is much stronger than our Infernape, so we're gonna go ahead and go out into our Landorus at this point. I'm starting to remember the match for sure. So I had to figure that out. I checked all the stats, so it took a little bit of time. Is that what I really wanna do? Do I wanna just go into the Blissey and bait in the Conkeldurr again? Because the Conkeldurr is definitely at the point where a double Seismic Toss is going to take it out after Stealth Rocks. It's 100% there because we left it around 50% after we Dragon Tailed with our Milotic when it lived on 6. So we end up going out at the top because why the heck not? We know that the U-turn does so much damage and it would probably take him out from the range that he's at. But unfortunately, Tangrowth has the Regenerator, so Dan has no reason at all to stay in. There's just literally no reason whatsoever. And at this point, I'm getting nervous because it's 5-6 and there's 28 minutes left in the battle. And I'm like, man, if I don't, I've done a lot of dwindling away of his team, but if I don't start securing knockouts, I could lose the timer. It was a very real fear, especially this was the turn I thought about that because this turn took like 90 seconds. Dan, it was a tough decision. Does he want to predict me to go for EQ and go out into his Crobat, or what is he gonna do? He actually does end up doing that and going out into his Crobat. So he takes 25% and I go for a U-turn. which is just fine. So at this point, I'm like, all right, Crow finally hit the field. I want to find out if you're scarfed or not. I really want to find out if you're scarfed, but there's really no, I don't want to risk switching in my Infernape right now. I don't want to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and go out into my Jolteon because I resist the Brave Bird and I can take pretty much any other hit. I can take at least one. So letting Mayhem take damage is kind of scary, but I decided, you know what? I'm going to come in, I'm going to Volt Switch, take advantage of my Volturn core. That's what I have to do. So Edward is just flapping away. Oh my gosh, look at how fast Edward goes in his ×2 speed. That is ridiculous. So we end up, like I said, we're gonna go for Volt Switch, and Dan's just, once again, as soon as this turn happened to him, like, oh my gosh, it says we have 25 minutes left, but that's really not a lot of time. That is not a lot of time with the turn, with how long the turns are taking. He does end up going for U-turn and leaves me at 83 HP. So he has to decide who he wants to switch in, but Sabretooth is his switch in for the Volt Switch, which makes perfect sense because he does resist it, and he doesn't want his Tangrowth to come in again on another offensive attack, risking a Signal Beam or an HP Ice. So go for a Volt Switch. It doesn't do much to this thing, obviously. And I hear, this is where I'm thinking so much about the clock, and I'm talking so much about the clock. I'm kind of glad the commentary is gone. That I end up going into Landers because it's like, why the heck not? But I'm like, wait a minute, we still don't know what item this thing has. So I'm trying to debate right now, do I want to go to Landers, do I want to go into the Blissey? Blissey's pretty free if I go into the Blissey, can't really do much to me at all, but I'm like, you know what, let's go into the top and let's just secure KO. But as soon as I go in, I'm like, wait, what if he's choiced and what if he goes for HP Ice? I need to switch out because Choice Scarf Raikou outspeeds Choice Scarf Toph. Why else would he why would he be comfortable bringing it in like that? Like he didn't bring it in, why would he be comfortable with that thing on the field? So I end up going out into my Blissey and you guys see the Hidden Power Ice. I eat it up, which is fantastic. I'm like, all right, well, he's gotta be Choice Scarf. Gotta be Choice Scarf. I'm going for a Seismic Toss. There's no reason to do anything else. I'm not gonna Soft Boiled. I could Soft Boil, but I don't want Conkeldurr coming in for free. So I just have to click Seismic Toss, hoping the Conkeldurr comes in with a hard switch. So I was really happy with that play. 100% satisfied until this turn. I don't know when it's gonna happen. It's probably gonna take another 90 seconds. Until this turn, I guess we're just gonna run it. We only got 10 minutes left in the battle for you guys, so I'm not gonna cut out any parts. It's not as stally as I thought. I mean, there's a little bit of time, but it's only 45 seconds if it takes with the whole switch. He goes for a Volt Switch! And I was like, what? No! I could have gotten EQ off. He was so convinced that Ape was my only Choice Scarfer, that Landorus wouldn't outspeed, and gosh darn it, I would have been fine. I would have been fine. I could have also gone on into Infernape and just gone for Flare Blitz. And that would have been great, but his Vaporeon's still around. So Conkeldurr comes in, I go for a Seismic Toss, and you guys see, of course, that is going to knock him out if I go for another one. But I'm starting to be afraid of the fact that he could have speed creeped me. He could have straight up just said, hey man, I'm faster than Blissey now. I only needed to invest like 40 speed EVs just to make sure that I outspeed this thing. And I was like, shoot, I wish I would have thought of that. And I would have put in like 3 extra EVs, 3 extra points into my speed to make sure I outspeed this thing every time. And then I ran Calx, and Mach Punch actually takes me out from this range. So I'm like, shoot, if he has Mach Punch, which he revealed already, I'm donezo. So I have to go into my Mew here, really hoping that he's gonna go for the Mach Punch, because it's the only thing I could think of him going for. So all of these KOs, like look at how low Hercules is. It doesn't matter. I go out into my Rufus, and gosh darn it, Dan goes for knockoff. So made a beautiful play. I don't know if he was predicting Rufus or if he just wanted to knock off a potential Scarf or any item. Knockoff's just such a great move. So Rufus is here just floating in the air fantastically. And at this point, I know most of his moves. I don't know if he has Ice Punch or not yet. He might be running the Power Punch like he did in the first game, but with how low he let his Conkeldurr go, I don't think that he has the Ice Punch. There's no reason. So Mew is here, and he's kind of fine. I mean, he's got a little more than half HP. So I'm like, you know what? This is the time. I am transforming. Gosh darn it! I want to get a Conkeldurr on my team because Conkeldurr on my team would help out so much against this team right now. I could probably drop the Vaporeon. I can Drain Punch away and gain some HP back. It would be so nice. But that was like a 90-second turn. And he's gonna go out into Oxygen. So Oxygen here as I go for a transform. That was the best play for Dan, worst play for me. Had I gone for knockoff, I probably would have been in better shape. But now I'm here, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna get a Wish Up. I'll get my Rufus back with a full HP or I'll switch something in depending on what he does. So I kind of expect him to go for a Wish himself because I'm like, oh, we're both gonna get wishes here. But he actually goes Baton Pass. I'm like, oh, Raikou's coming. Raikou's definitely coming. Oh my goodness. There's no chance he's not gonna let Raikou hit the field. And I'm just watching the clock tick down right now. I'm like, you're gonna go into Raikou. It's so obvious. Why is it taking so long? It's just my nerves are crazy. But he goes out into Sticks. I'm like, what? Oh, duh. You have 2 things that are advantageous against the Vaporeon. Well, that stinks. So at this point, I'm like, man, he's gonna get more of a generator off. I either protect or he's gonna Giga Drain, and he could one-shot me because I don't know the spread of this Vaporeon. Even when you check your stats, apparently it keeps your Mew stats, which is a drag. It still had my 121 speed, so I was really upset. I was like, you know what? I can just go for a protect, guarantee my Mew having full health, because transforming into something else could be pretty good. And then I look at the clock and I say, oh my gosh, there's only 17 minutes left. I need to click this button. So he actually withdraws and goes out into Sabertooth this time. So took advantage of the regenerator on Tangrowth very, very nicely. Had I gone for a Scald, it would have been ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, but there was no way I was going to go for a Scald on a Tangrowth. So at this point, I'm like, man, I don't know if I can take an attack. I really don't know if I can take an attack, but I know this thing isn't Scarfed, so if I let my Rufus go down, I can get a free switch initiative into like my Infernape. But that's kind of scary. So I'm gonna go ahead and just switch out into my Blissey because my Blissey walls this thing for days. I believe that's what I'm gonna do. Perhaps it's not what I'm gonna do. Maybe I'm gonna let Rufus drop. I can't remember. This is, at this point, you guys got, like, I was talking so much about the timer. I was taking like 40 seconds to make each of my moves. And that was honestly too long at this point. He goes for a Shadow. That's right, I switch into Mayhem because I figure I can live one of anything no matter what. I can live one of anything he does. Shadow Ball was his strongest possible move against me, and that's what he went for, which is unfortunate because I could have just stayed in with Vaporeon and gone for a Scald. But I really expected him to just go for a Volt Switch. I predicted that there and really wanted that HP back, but unfortunately it didn't happen. Kind of expected him not to. I already chose my move, by the way. I'm Volt Switching. I'm just straight up Volt Switching because there's no reason not to. My Shadow Ball won't take Sabertooth out, so I can't risk it. I just need to get my I want to get my Infernape in, but the clock is getting so low. The clock is getting so darn low. But I go for a Volt Switch here. And honestly, I crit him, doesn't matter, and I predict him to go for a Volt Switch, predicting my Volt Switch. So I was like, you know what? Do I really want to go into Landorus right now and predict this? If he goes for a Shadow Ball, it won't knock me out, and I'll still have my Choice Scarf, so that wouldn't be bad. It would not be terrible. So I end up going out at the top, predicting the Electric-type move. I started panicking because we have 14 minutes left. He goes for a Shadow Ball. It does almost 50% of my remaining HP, and now I'm like, you know what, knock off. Click a knock off. Just kidding, click U-turn. Because if he switches out, we'll gain initiative, and U-turn will guarantee and secure the knockout. So that's exactly what we do. Well, hold on. I should say that's exactly what we should do. We should click U-turn, but I'm not entirely sure what we do. I needed that water. Woo! I needed that water. I really gosh darn did. So this is one of the turns where it was a 99-second turn. And there's nothing we can do about it. And this was the point where I kind of accepted defeat. I'm not gonna lie. This is the point where I accepted defeat. Because I'm gonna go for U-turn. And I should not have done this. I should not have accepted defeat. Because I did. I accepted it and I said, you know what? We have 12 minutes left. Dan has Regenerator. I mean, I have a Blissey, but let me go into my Ape. I've wanted to get my Ape in this entire time. And I just want to start Flare Blitzing things and picking up these knockouts. He goes down into Edward. And at this point, I know that he's Scarfed. I know that he's Scarfed. And I'm like, great. What do I do? And I'm panicking and I'm trying to make my decision and I see the time at 10 minutes and I'm like, this is not gonna end well. And I end up deciding that instead of switching into my defensive Mew, and then I was weighing the options, switching to Mew, switching to Landorus, or stay in. I end up deciding that switching into Landorus is not the best option because EQ takes care of Metagross and Raikou. Not really, like, I just wanted to say my Landorus, and I stayed in. As he goes for the Brave Bird, he's gonna take me out, and he's gonna live the recoil, which is such a drag, because though I said in my commentary, I really hope he goes down to recoil. That would be perfect, and I think would be fine. So, I have much regret about this decision, and I just go into Rufus now. And I'm like, man, I could have just gone out to Rufus, let him take recoil, and he might go down to another entry, and then Crobat wouldn't even be a problem at all for us. And then nothing on his team outspeeds my Ape, and Flare Blitz would have won. But he switches out his Infernape and goes out into Styx, because why the heck not? Infernape is gone. What is Styx gonna die to? So I knock off his Assault Vest. I was right about thinking that he was Assault Vest. And here I'm just trying to decide what I want to do. I can't really transform into this thing. It's not gonna do much for me. I could go out into my Blissey and try to Soft Boil. I just need to get one more knockout and then it'll be tied and then I need to like Blissey up. But I really didn't even want to do that. You guys can see I already made my decision. I made my move I started making my moves so fast and that did kind of make me make some bad plays for sure. But I was panicking. I was a little frustrated that I was gonna get timer stalled. I'm not gonna lie. So I ended up going for a Roar and no, Crobat doesn't come in for the easy KO because that's all I wanted. I had roared and Dragon Tailed so many times that if Crobat had just come in one of those times, we would have had a high score right now, and I could have just went into Blissey, and I could have just soft boiled and done a reverse timer stall. But that's not the case. Of course it's not the case, because that involves luck, and I should not have gone with a lucky strategy, which is not right of me. It was not right. But things get crazy here. So I'm like, all right, I just gotta keep roaring, and I just have to not get Tangrowth in. Just don't get Tangrowth in. and pretty much anyone else I'll be kind of happy with. I'll be fine with it. That'd be cool. Whatever. It doesn't matter. So I'm gonna actually click Roar again. I was deciding on if I should click Knockoff. I'm like, should I click Knockoff? Would it really benefit me to click Knockoff at all? I could have decided. Actually, I did decide. I decided a long time ago, and I went for Roar. So it was another really long turn. Synchronized, obviously not gonna affect, so Toxic was really nice there as we do go and roar him out into his Hercules. So kind of a drag because I don't think that Knockoff can take this thing out, especially after he especially if he would Drain Punch me, but Drain Punch would obviously happen after. I just think that with Conkeldurr's natural bulk, Knockoff's not stab, it's not gonna take him out from that range. So maybe it would have, maybe I misplayed, but I did end up going for a Roar here, just really desperate to see that Crobat come in. But you guys can see we're creeping up on 6 minutes. I just want to get that Crobat, and then I want to sit there and I want to Blissey up because I was tired of being stalled. He's gonna go for a Drain Punch, and he's gonna get a little bit of HP back as I do go for another Roar, and wouldn't you know who comes in? It's gosh darn Metagross again! So that's fun. Metagross hits the field again. Toxic damage is gonna wear down. I'm like, well, Rufus is going down. I can get my Landorus in, but Landorus is not the Pokemon I should have saved. I should have saved my Infernape because Infernape Flare Blitz would have taken everything out. It would have dropped the Tangrowth. I think it might even drop. It would have been a 2-hit KO against the Vaporeon. That's why I ended up saying I want to save the Landorus over the Infernape because he had both Vaporeon left and gosh darn Tangrowth. Such a really good core. Really good core. That's why in the GBA I have Mega Venusaur on my low tick. By the way, in case I forget, I will have a GBA analysis video up tomorrow on the channel for you guys for season 5 of our giraffes because I know a lot of you guys have been asking about that. So we're here. I clicked Roar like 90 minutes ago, and then we're gonna see an Ice Punch here as I go for another Roar. So I'm gonna roar out the gosh darn Vaporeon, and I'm like, man, that's not Crobat. It's still not Crobat. Let me take the toxic damage, live on 6, and I'm gonna click Roar again, but I'm pretty positive that I'm just gonna go down to a Scald. However, you guys, I already picked my move. He can obviously also go for a Wish or a Protect. So I go for a Roar, he goes for the Wish, and it's gonna go ahead and drag out Sticks. So, not a single time could I think I went between Roars and Dragon Tails, I went like 0 for 9. Where I couldn't get that Crobat in at any point in the game, and that definitely bit me in the butt for sure, because I think I would have played a lot different. I know that if I had more time, I would not have sacked off my Infernape. I only sacked off my Infernape because I figured I would not have enough time to go in there and win because he had Tangrowth and Vaporeon. So I figured he can Wish Protect Stall. There's no way I can win this at this point. So otherwise, the right play would have been to just go into Mew against my Crobat. Against the Crobat, and do that. But unfortunately, the timer's getting run again. And I clicked Signal Beam a long time ago, hoping that maybe I can crit and knock this thing out so it doesn't get the Wish recovery. And plus it would knock out anything that switched in as well, except for the Metagross. But he's gonna stay in, get confused, but he's gonna break through and Giga Drain me. And Mayhem is gonna drop, unfortunately. And at this point, I just decide to run because we already lost. It's a 1-0, it's a 5-0 essentially, because the timer's at 1 minute. Oh, I'm sorry, no, I didn't do that yet. I waited one more turn. I went for a U-turn here, I believe. And then Blissey comes in, and then I run. So it was a 5-2, but really, it was like a 5-0 because I had no chance of winning. It got to a point where the turns were getting so long that, like, that one turn, had I switched into Mew, and he went for Brave Bird, I just don't think it would have mattered. He had Wish Protect Vaporeon as well. I mean, I had Reliable Recovery, and he had Wish Protect Vaporeon and Regenerator, so we both had recovery teams. But at the end, I did too much chipping away and not enough securing KOs. I had a couple opportunities where I kind of played too safe, and I could have just gone ahead and knocked out Pokemon, but I didn't. So unfortunately, our UCL season ends here to our Goliath. But like I said in the beginning and in the comment and in the team building, like, I'm so used to losing to Dan that I didn't expect to win. I just wanted to have a really fun hype match. And I felt like the beginning was really hype. And I'm sorry that you guys couldn't see the live commentary of it because it really was hype. Some of the plays, it wasn't even shown right in post commentary. How hype it was that Blissey almost took out a Conkeldurr, certain double switches that I made, certain switches that he made. It was just so awesome. And then after like the 35-minute mark, it's just got a little stale. The moves started taking longer and I wasn't enjoying it as much anymore. And that's pretty much what happened. That was the battle. I'm really sorry that it's not live again.
Like I said, I'm basically just returning this computer, the sound card to it, because this cannot happen anymore. It's just so frustrating. That's more frustrating than the timer stall, 100%. It really was. And it was, overall, we had a fantastic season. We came back after losing 3 straight weeks in a row. We didn't lose until the playoffs. So I'm really proud of that. I want to thank you guys so much for your support. Please come around on Sunday for our GBA Season 5 analysis, because gosh darn it, we are taking that cup. We are taking the GBA Cup. I have never been more confident about a league ever, and I've been in the GBA for 5 seasons. This is our year, 100%. So if you guys enjoyed, please show some Shady love, show some Mankey love down below. If you hated this video, leave a dislike. I really am sorry. I don't know what happened, and I promise that I'm doing everything I can to make sure it doesn't happen. I'm gonna be recording with 3 different programs from now on, because it's just impossible for me to catch a break with this kind of stuff. But it is what it is. I'm still here. I'm gonna be here for a while. I love you so much. I'm gonna get the heck out of here now. Have yourselves a good day, but above all else, keep it shady.